Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you have landed on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to take pre-loved secondhand thrift store finds and share the process with you all of how I make these items over, share the vision and the process I go through to giving these new life. So in today's video, these are all going to have a primitive vibe. I'm sharing with you 5 items that I'm making over, and I'm all giving them the color black, but black isn't always the same on each item. I'm going to start off with this set of 3 reproduction shaker styled nesting boxes. Oh my gosh, a set of 3. I just always love that little detail in the front of these type of boxes. So we're going to go ahead and get the tags off and get these cleaned up. There's a little bit of brokenness going on with some of them. You know, there's the reason why they were donated. This one looks like it was smashed just a little bit, so there is a little bit of a hole. So all I'm going to do is fill it up with some Starbound CA glue. I love this stuff because you put it in, it does what it's supposed to do, glue 2 things together. You put the accelerator on it in like 15 seconds, it is dry. So then after I get these all cleaned up, I can go back and sand that, try to sand it smooth. These aren't very thick boxes. The Starbond CA glue is sandable, but like I said, this is not a very thick box, so I'm going to try to get it down as close as I can. There'll probably still be a little bit of raised, but it'll be better than being broken and have a hole in it. Now, since I had to sand it, I got down to that natural little thin wood there. You can see where the glue is. I'm going to go ahead and seal all these in anyway. Using just 1 coat of shellac should be enough. I just want something, since they're so thin, I don't really want to prep sand them too much, and I don't want to take away any of their detail. So the shellac will act as a primer to grab onto the paint that I'm going to paint them. And for my first black color, I'm going to be using Fusion's Cast Iron. Yes, it may look a little bit gray, but it is definitely a hue of black. And so the shellac, since this is a shiny surface and I didn't want to scuff sand it, even though Fusion is a 3-in-1 product. It has your primer, your paint, and your top coat all in one. I just want to make sure that I get really good adhesion on something that is a little bit on the shiny side. First coat covered really well, but I still need to go in and make sure that every area is covered, so I'm going in with a second coat. Not only did I want to paint these a new color, I wanted to add some wordage, some advertising, some tags on there. So I have these downloaded that I have on my computer that I got. They were free graphics, I believe, off of Graphics Fairy. You know, every once in a while they have like random free downloads. So these are something I've already had in my file, so I don't know if I can save them for you. But so one is a tea, and then we got some bourbon, and I was just going with the same general shape, and I needed 3 of them. So so tea and bourbon go together, kinda. I don't know. It was all about the advertising and the labels. So all I did was put them in my pages, copy and paste them into my Excel program, and then size them for each individual box that I wanted to add on. So I wanted, of course, they're stacking boxes, they're all a little bit smaller, so I went with the 3 different sizes. And even though the label itself is kind of aged with that tannish background, I'm going to go ahead and add some more age by wetting my paper down with some instant coffee. I just have some instant coffee in a spray bottle, a viewer suggestion, and I have used this a ton. I didn't realize how often I used instant coffee and watered down mixture before. Painted over that amazing detail of these shaker style boxes. I love the detail. So the easiest way for me to get that detail back without having to try to use a big chunky piece of sandpaper is to go in with an X-Acto knife on those sharp edges and just scrape that paint off. And there's little copper nails on this too, and I want you to be able to see them also. Is it a conventional way of doing this? Probably not, but it's the easiest way that I'm not scraping up the rest of the areas that I don't want scraped up using sandpaper. After I get all my detail work done, then I'm going back in with some fine grit, double 40 fine grit sandpaper, and just making sure that everything is nice and smoothed down. So now I cut out my images as close as I could, but I wanted to leave that black outer circle part. So I'm just using some decoupage transferring gel from Fusion. I get that at the Painted Heirloom too. The nice thing about this stuff is it doesn't change the color of your paper, so that's pretty amazing when I'm just using regular copier paper and a regular old inkjet printer, even though I did coffee dye them. So all I'm doing is backing them with another piece of copier paper. That's going to make my label a little bit thicker, and it's also going to make my wordage pop a little bit more, especially since I'm going to be attaching it to a black piece. You can see as I'm cutting out the copier paper, I'm leaving just a little bit of the white showing because I'm going to be burning my edges. My image itself is still wet with the decoupage transfer gel. So the only thing the lighter is going to burn will be that white paper. And so it'll just give it that I didn't cut very well edges. We're just going to burn them right off. And I'm trying to not get into that black line, but that paper is still wet, so it kind of just extinguishes itself. But I do have some water in a Clorox wipe just to extinguish the fire, just as a control. So now I'm going to be using that same decoupage transfer gel to adhere it onto the box. Now I was just kind of deciding like which side do I want to go. Like I could have flipped it all the way around and just did it where you don't see that beautiful detail, but I love that detail. That's the fun of these shaker boxes, and I think this labeling, the advertising labeling, is just going to just take it to the next level and make it even more desirable. I got all 3 labels on. I did set them off to the side and let them completely dry. Now I'm just putting a layer of Homestead's natural clear wax right on top of that label. I didn't want to do the decoupage paper or anything like that because I do want to age it just a little bit more, but I don't want it to darken up completely and there be no wording whatsoever. So the clear wax is just going to like act as a protector. So I'm going to go ahead and between Jolie's black wax and the natural clear wax and just wax all over these boxes. Now if I just put the Jolie's wax on, it might just darken where I did all that detail work so you could see the wood. So that's why I'm using the clear wax first. Oh my goodness, will you look at this bowl? It is ginormous, and it's that little bit of outdated hunter green color. And the sad thing about it, y'all, it's not wood, it's resin, so it is super heavy. So it's not something that you can sand and get down to that natural wood to change the color by any means. So we're going to get it cleaned up. We're going to get the tags off. Going to let it dry. And then I'm going to prep it using some shellac because like as I said, it's resin. It's not wood. I can't really sand it to do anything, but shellac's going to give it enough adhesion for my paint color to be able to bond to it. For my next black color, I'm going to be using Sweet Pickins Color Lantern. This is a nice, rich, very dark black. So what it is equal parts powder to equal parts water. You stir it for 2 minutes. You set it off to the side until it thickens. And what I'm hoping here is that I'm going to get some cracking and crazing. Hopefully not too much chipping because I don't want the chipping to show the green underneath. I would just like the bowl to look older if it would crack and craze a little bit is my hope, and that's why I did the coats of shellac underneath. Here's what it's looking like with the first coat. You can see that crackling, that crazing. That's what I was looking for. I just want it to look a little bit more aged than just a clean paint job. But I do need to put 2 coats on to make sure that everything's completely covered. And then I need to flip it over onto the other side so I can do the main part of the bowl. And did I tell you it was resin and it's super heavy? I am so glad that I have a lazy Susan to be able to turn this bad boy around while I'm painting it. So now I'm going to go ahead. I did get a little bit of cracking here and there, but I'm going to seal the entire thing in with some Weather Defense clear coat. Hopefully I'll lay that cracking back down so I won't have any chipping going on. I don't want to touch it until I get this milk paint sealed in. Don't want to do any heavy sanding, so all I'm doing is the finest grit steel wool, which is the 440, just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And then to finish this off, we're going to use Jolie's black wax to seal that milk paint in and give it a nice protective coat. It turned out awesome. I had cracking and crazing going on, but not any chippiness. That's what I was hoping for, that shellac would bond that on there, that I wouldn't have to worry about it chipping off. Next up, I have this little metal, it's metal, riser, probably like, a candlestick, back when they had those humongous 3-wick candles. But I'd like to be able to put this swan on it. I'm not sure what the colors of the swan are going on there, or I don't know. But yes, I want to be able to pair the 2 of these together. So I need to start off by just, removing tags, cleaning everything off. And then as I was cleaning this off, all of a sudden I realized, oh no, the bottom of this the whole thing was chalk painted, but unfortunately the bottom area here wasn't sealed in chalk paint. So when I started to wet it back down, it started to take the paint off. You never know when you are buying secondhand what an item is going to do. So then I'm like, oh, so now I really need to try to get all that paint off. And I tested all the other areas. It was only just that one area that I needed to really work and scrape and making sure that chalk paint that wasn't sealed in got taken off. You're probably thinking, well, I should have just sealed it in. Well, it had texture then, because where it scraped off, it wasn't flat. So it was just one of those commitments. I just had to take it all the way off. So now I'm just taking some fine grit steel wool, because of course I use a scraping tool on metal, so it scraped it up a little bit. So I'm just trying to smooth it out using some fine grit steel wool. It's just one of those challenges you face when you're buying secondhand pre-loved items. So now I'm going to be using Rust-Oleum's enamel paint in black, but it's the matte sheen, so there won't be any shine to this. And I really like to start off with my bottom first, and then I will flip it over to the other side. Of course, you know, with the power of editing, I had let it dry before flipping it over to do the top side. Now the enamel paint, you could leave it as is, or because I want to set like a wreath and the swan on top of it, I want to make sure it has an extra layer of protection. So I'm just going to go ahead and seal it in with the Weather Defense Metal Clear Coat Spray, which unfortunately will give it a little bit of a shine. Most definitely I want to paint this swan up. There is a little bit of damage to the paint, and it's funny, as I started to clean the swan, the layers came off of it. As I said, you never know. It could be a totally new object once you got it clean. But yes, as you see, all that odd color that was going on is washing right off. I had no idea that was going to wash off, but I am going to sand smooth the areas where the paint has been damaged and has been chipped off, so that's not a detail I want you to see by any means. I'm going to go ahead and use that same shellac product to even out the porosity. I got down to raw wood. I've got some paint on there. I don't know if I got all whatever washed off. I just want to make sure that it's sealed in and it has a good base to start off with. Since I have such a clean look with the metal base, the candlestick riser, I want the swan to kind of have a chippy look going on there. So I'm going to be using Sweet Pickins milk paint in the flour sack, which is my favorite white color here. Especially, there's something about a white swan. I want to protect the eyes. The eyes have little glass eyes, and then the black bill that's already painted. I'm just going to brush on some Vaseline, so if I get paint on there, it'll just wipe off when I'm all done. And this is just one of those items where you have multiple sides to have to paint, kind of like the bowl. So I'm going to start off with the bottom first, making sure that I got that all painted. Because this is a little bit heavier, I mixed it up a little bit drier, so it's a little bit thicker. So I will only be doing one coat in the hopes that it'll do all that yummy crackle and crazing going on there. But I need to get the underneath area done first. And then I'm trying to feather out the side so when I go to do the top that it'll blend in. Well, I got the look that I was going for. I didn't get chippiness where the paint chips off, but I got those cracks and those craisins and those beautiful lines by putting the paint on and mixing it up a little bit drier and then just doing that one thicker coat. It's just amazing. You could maybe achieve it the same with 2 thinner coats also, but just because I had so many ways to flip this is just flipping a little bird here. I just wanted to do it this way. Seal it in with some Weather Defense, the clear coat, because I do have a few little areas that I wanted to sand smooth, but I didn't want to take that crazing or have it chip off. So after the clear coat is dry, I can go in with some sandpaper and kind of get those few little spots that were kind of bumpier than I wanted them to be. And then to really bring out those cracks and those crazins, I'm going in with some of the Fusion's Aging Wax. I'm going to wipe it all on. I'm going to get it into those little crevices, and then I'll wipe it off using the natural clear wax, and I wasn't worried about removing like the Vaseline at this point, because I knew at this point I would really be wiping this whole thing off. So all the paint that was on the bill or on the eyes, if I touched, will just be wiped off at this time. Now I have this bucket that is in desperate need of some love. Oh, it's a little bit worse for wear, and yep, I did pay money for it. That's just how it goes these days. So first thing is I need to figure out if I can get this metal ring back on, if it's going to be tight enough. And maybe it was a flaw from the get-go. It just, because usually what they do is like it's a process of them wetting it and they put it down, so there's really not any glue or anything, but sometimes the wood shrinks over time and it just doesn't stay as tight anymore. So I think just me putting it back on isn't going to be enough. I'm going to have to go in with some CA glue and re-glue this back together, even though usually they aren't, but this is the only way that I can think about fixing it. So I'm going to go ahead and each individual slat glue those, and then also glue the rings down so that it's more permanent. Got everything glued back together. It's nice and tight now, but now I need to go through and I need to sand it, because the glue, of course, where I glued the slats together, there wasn't a lot of room to fit glue in there, so it kind of now is a little bit bumpy. So I'm going in and sanding it as smooth as I can get it, and it's just going to be that perfectly imperfect, but at least it's a solid piece now. Because I had to pretty much sand every one of those top slats, I'm going to go in and sand the entire thing just to make sure that my texture is all even. I'm going to go ahead and mix up some more of the lantern paint. I'm really looking for a really chippy look here, and I wanted to share with you how the shellac acts as a bonder and bonds the paint. And so if I don't shellac this bucket, what a different look I will get. Now I applied 2 coats and I did not paint the entire thing. I'm going with that. I still wanted it to still have that character of being an older piece without completely painting it all. But yes, I need to go in with a second coat to make sure that everything's completely covered, that in case I will get any chipping or crazing or anything like that. Now I did sand it, so the paint is going to absorb into the wood. If I didn't sand it and it still just had its glossy top coat, it probably would chip more. I'm trying to figure out this milk paint. As soon as I think I figure it out, it makes me a liar. So, you know, it's just the fun. The thing about milk paint is you have to expect the unexpected. You just, you think you have a rhyme or reason to it, and then it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that this time. After my paint is dry, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start sanding this now. I didn't get any chipping, it didn't chipped off or anything like that, but I want it to be way more distressed than that. So without any type of primer, any kind of bonder, it is just going to, where I didn't pre-sand it, it'll just, like the little areas that still had some of the glossy, and of course the metal you can see is just sanding right off. I really want this to have a lot of age to it. It's an old bucket. Why not make it look like it's old? You want to put some graphics on this, and I have these that I believe I purchased these off of Etsy. They're hard to see because they're a small, but here they are. Look at these beautiful chickens. Though I want more age to it than what the paper is, but this isn't the image I'm going to use. So the same thing, I copy it, I put it into my Excel program, but on this one I need to crop all that white out so that I can size it to what I need it to be. Yes, this image is gorgeous, you all, but I am going to antique it. It's just the vision that I have in my head, so coffee stain dye in that paper, which is probably going to make the red of the combs and the roosters, yeah, a little bit probably bleed, but that's okay. So if you are impatient like me, if you use a piece of parchment paper and an iron, I'm just using my little mini heat press, you can dry your paper that way so you can proceed on working on your project. It was like watching water boil. I didn't want to wait for my my paper to dry. I wanted to keep on working on my project. So I'm just cutting out my image, and I'm going to do the same as like I did with the tags. I'm going to adhere it to copy paper using that decoupage transfer gel, which is awesome stuff, and burn those edges just to give it that old look. I'm going to do that same process where I put the clear wax on top of the image to seal the image in. I wanted this to have age to it. I didn't want it to look like I put a new label on an old bucket. So that was my whole concept of aging the paper. And then I want to protect the paper, but I still want the darker black wax to give it a little bit of age too. But I don't want it like the black wax to just totally take away all the wording. Well, and the bucket has a hole in it, so I better put some florals in there. So I'm just filling it up with some Dollar Tree floral foam, a little bit of Spanish moss, and I'm absolutely in love. One of my favorite florals from Hobby Lobby is the Beige Baby's Breath. It just goes with so many things. It's such a neutral flower. Pig weather vane. Is he not too cute, but a little too new looking for me? So I'm gonna remove that tag, get it washed up, and we're going to make him look older. Oh, I know so many of you already knew that I was going to be doing some Rusty Crusty on him. My favorite Rusty Crusty, Dixie Belle's Patina iron paint. So I just use a stencil brush from the Dollar Tree store that has been well loved. It means it's all flared out, and I just do a dabbing tapping motion because rust is not smooth, it is raised and bumpy, and this really gives it that nice authentic look. So I'm going to paint the iron paint all over, and I'm going to have to like wait for one side to dry before doing the other side. I really like when I do this technique. If it's laying down, I really like how the patina lays in the paint more than having it stand upright where it just rolls down. That being said, I'm just doing one side at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and spray the green patina spray, which is going to give you that brown ready rust first. And for some reason it was already rusty in the sprayer. And then on just a few of the little tip-topped edges, I'm going to put some of the blue, which is going to be like a turquoise. And for just a moment, I'm going to hold it up and kind of let it run, kind of like how rain would run down on an object. But I'm going to change my board out so I'm not laying it back down on that wetness. And oh my goodness, look at this patina. So now I gotta flip it over and do the other side. Really, it takes probably about an hour for it really to start working. So with the two patinas on the top of each other, oh, it just looks so yummy. But yep, so hopefully I won't mess anything up by having to do that other side, but it just has to be done. Now that I have both sides done, it turned out amazing. See how the bumpiness, it really, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. So now I'm going to go ahead and get that sealed in with some weather defense, a clear coat spray. Oh, oh my gosh, laying it down is really the way to go if you can. Now for the base of this, I didn't sand it. I did not sand it. I did not prime it. I did not shellac it. I didn't do anything to prep this. So I'm putting that lantern milk paint right over the top of it. I'm really hoping to get a really chipped off. I want you to be able to see that cream color underneath is my goal. So we'll see if it happens or not. Like I said, milk paint is unpredictable. Just because you want it to happen doesn't mean it's always going to happen. But I lucked out and it did. It is showing that cream underneath. It's chippy. It's exactly what I wanted to do. I'm going to go ahead and seal that in with some of the weather defense first before proceeding to put a little bit of a brown aging wax on it just to help darken up some of the cream, and then whatever is going to chip off will chip off at this time. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? I told you black isn't always the same. It's not repetitive. It can be different. It can be different shades, different products, different textures. So give me a quick comment down below. Have I inspired you in any way to look at thrift store finds in a new way? And have I inspired you to do the neutral of black on any of your home decor for resale or just to update anything in your own home? So thanks again for watching today's video, and as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and you're checking out this content for the first time and you like to go out to thrift stores, love pre-loved items, you decorate your home with pre-loved items, or you just love to make items over, please smash that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know you uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!